Hello and welcome to the first video diary of 2022. As promised in our last video, it is the year of the R18. As you can see, the workshop and the fabrication area is full of R18s. Currently we have 3 in the workshop to 7 R9Ts, so we're doing pretty well considering last time we saw an R18 properly to be able to sit on it was when we started building one for the Goodwood show last year. So to think we now got 3 in the workshop to chop up is extremely exciting.
And chopping up is what we're going to do basically. Throughout December and the beginning part of 2022, we've given each other a couple of days off, which has been quite nice.
Which has been lovely.
It's got very cold.
It's got very cold.
I've got the winter hat on.
Yeah,
that's what's happening. I can see my breath as we're doing this recording at the moment. So yeah, we've spent a lot more time off of the ramps and actually on the workbenches over the last few weeks. So it's been quite refreshing, quite nice.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit keen to get back out and back behind the bars again. I'd like to get back out and riding and doing some, well, just some outdoor stuff and stuff like that basically. But you know, it's been a nice change to actually be, you know, getting the tools out and making things for the last couple of weeks. So the reason we're doing those is because BMW dealerships have currently got like an incentive basically to get some customized R18s into their dealerships. We've been tasked by 1, 2, 3, 4 of the dealerships.
Yeah, 4, that's correct,
to get some parts together or do some custom work and stuff for them. So if you sort of head down to your local dealer, you may well see some of our stuff locally to you, which is pretty cool. It also gives us a chance to, again, flex our creative muscle a little bit more, which is pretty cool. So Stu's been working hard at that whilst I've been trying to fight the emails and the website.
The workshop is the busiest it's ever been, period, ever. Like, it's the busiest start to the year we have had. We are flat out, and I think we can say the workshop is fully booked till May?
We're saying May, June sort of time. So the Bike Shed have announced their show dates. It's the last weekend of May. We're going to be going up there, we think. We've submitted the bikes the same as everybody else has, basically. On the assumption that we get in, we're going to be aiming to take 2, 3 or 4 bikes. We haven't really worked that bit out yet. But our aim is obviously to make sure that we are, by the end of the weekend of May, we've got loads of bikes to take up there and display. That being the case, we kind of have to write off May a little bit in our own heads and in our own minds, because we want to make sure that if we've got a bike that's been out with a customer or anything like that, it's back here, checked over, validated and everything else to get it up there. So that meant that we're really, really busy up to May with everything we've got on the ramps. We've got the next batch of bikes in. May's a bit of a tidy up, sort out and finish off any loose ends we've got here with regards to the customers who've already booked in. So realistically, we're saying June 1st. June
onwards, 1st for big major builds. Obviously, in between now and then, there are elements that we can squeeze in. If you can imagine, we've got a jug, which is the workshop. It's full of pebbles. Small jobs are the sand, and we can fill the cracks in between with that. However,
what an analogy.
Thank you.
What an analogy. I love it.
However, that is, mic drop, I'm going to take that. However, that is as far as we can go regards our capacity, because like you say, it is only us 2 here, and the workshop is as busy, if not, well, I would say dwarfed by the busyness of the website. So Rory is having to basically divide himself in 2, which makes things ever more difficult. Anyway, putting our violins down and moving on to what you can expect from this year. Basically, parts. PCC parts. As we mentioned in December, we are going to be going very hard this year, flexing our creative muscles to make sure we can give you as many bespoke but production-based parts as possible, which have been curated and designed by ourselves from the years of experience we have now gained, and it's going to be a big push for us this year. We've got some bespoke exhaust systems coming, we've got some bespoke end cans coming.
We've got some carbon work as well.
We've got some carbon work. We're dipping our toe in the carbon side for the first time ever, which is very, very cool. We feel very futuristic, which is ridiculous because carbon's been around for years now.
Other than test rides, realistically, I probably did, off track, I probably did 200 miles last year. Yeah. Maybe 250 miles. It wasn't enough. So I've got plans. I want to go up and try and do a Scotland trip. I want to try and get away on a camping trip at one point through the summer. And obviously we'll document those on the socials and we'll give people a heads up to say, hey, we're going to be in this area at this time if anyone wants to meet up for a coffee or whatever it happens to be. Yeah. We want to take ourselves out on the road a little bit. This is something we've had again, and COVID kind of killed the vibe on it. We've been wanting to do a bit of a road show or a tour sort of thing. So we want to try and get to a couple of our sort of friends, gaffs basically, and just hang out for an afternoon or a morning or whatever. We've got the guys over at Baffle and stuff, for example, over in the Brecon Beacons in Wales. We're going to go over and head out with them. We'll have a coffee, a catch-up, coffee morning thing, come down with your 90, come down with your adventure bike, whatever it is. And then, yeah, just try and take ourselves to a few other places with the van, with some bikes, because the best way sometimes for people who haven't necessarily attempted something, or they've seen the parts on the website and they're not sure if that works, this works, what other ideas they could have. There's a lot of questions you guys can sometimes have, and putting ourselves in front of you so you can just ask us the silly questions, the whatever questions they happen to be. It's easier for us to sometimes have a face-to-face conversation with that. So by putting ourselves out and around, dotted around the country for a few days, it should hopefully give you guys a chance to come down and just hang out and have a coffee and waffle about bikes.
Yeah, and it's even easier to answer those questions when the bike's there in front of us, because people call different items on a bike and different components loads of different names. So when an email comes across, unless it's necessarily got a picture attached, what you might call, how can I say, a fork lower or a fork stanchion or a front fork or
a triple tree,
yoke, triple tree, whatever. It's easier if we can point to the stuff on the bike, or you can point to us on the bike and go, oh, what's that? Can that be recreated, or this and that? Makes things a lot easier.
Yeah. Stu's going to shoot off into the workshop and then come back down here and just go through what we do in all these bikes.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, first walk around of 2022. Let's see what's happening. We haven't got that far into the workshop before we see the first one of this year. And believe it or not, an R18. As promised, the year of the R18 continues. This one is going to be a very unusual build, something outside of our normal category, but it's going to be wicked. We are buzzing for it. So the theme with this one is black and copper. It's going to be very much out there. We're changing the configuration from 1916 to 2118, so it's going to have a much more of a bigger presence to it. We're going to have a PC18 style exhaust system, but going into a heritage style muffler. We're going to have a trimmed up rear mudguard just to take some weight out of the rear end. We're going to have some Harley Davidson style brackets here to allow for a removable rack, so the passenger's got a choice of passenger or luggage. There's going to be a lot of copper detail on the tank, the push rod covers, carrying that detail over onto the cylinder head covers. We're going to get rid of those big wide bars and, well, big high bars, and we're going to lower them for some beach style bars. The standard headlight is staying, but there's going to be oodles of detail on this bike. Really looking forward to it. Stay tuned. There's going to be plenty of stuff on the stories and normal updates. So, next. This one has come in for the airbox removal with the exclusively fitted DNA PCC cap filters. It also had the bars fitted, some of those gorgeous Motor Gadget 10s indicators, front and rear, and as well as the airbox removal, it had the obligatory Rapid Bike Evo fitted to it. Now, it's a simple build as you look at it, but there's an element of it which we don't often go on about, and that's something which is easily forgotten, and that is we do servicing. So this has come in for its major service. It's had the valves done, obviously all the oils, all the filters, brake fluids, something that we overlook, but also something that you need to remember. We are BMW trained here, so we can't just accommodate for your fabrication work and your custom work. We can also accommodate for your servicing. Don't forget, remember, that's the sand in between the pebbles, so we can still accommodate your booking. All right, on to the next one, which I am very excited about. Brand new, 800 miles, 2021 Scrambler. Now, this one is going to look nothing, and I mean nothing like what it does now. It is going to be a mixture of the recent Scarlet Scrambler that we did and the more heritage style but modern style, very popular Nigel build with the underswept exhaust. It's going to be those two but combined with some very modern and contemporary spun finishes all over the bike. It's going to be dark, it's going to be moody, and it's going to be well, it's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this. Some little things like, it's the first time, and this is a new thing that we can offer, and that is the 5-inch bait style headlight on a 2021. DevMoto, we've hooked up with them again, and they're making us a bespoke loom that works with the LED headlights. So that's going to be an awesome touch to this. The gold wheels are going to be going black to fit with the moody stance. We're going with the anodizing all over. The bars are being ever so slightly lowered. And one of the very exciting points is it's going to be the first 2021 bike with our in-house styled exhaust system that goes underneath 2x2. That moves us very neatly onto the next bike, which is where I've been doing all of our research. So you may recognize this as our workhorse. This is obviously our work run bike, aka the Suzuka. This hasn't changed much from when you last saw us in the workshop. That's because I've been using this as our test bench and our fabrication bench for the exhaust systems that we're going to be putting together. The exhaust system is going to be a PC18 inspired exhaust system. It's going to be coming down 2x2, long swept, and then finishing just before the final drive starts. It's going to have some unit garage end cans on there. It's going to have a little cat in the middle, and it's going to have some adjustable baffles. It is going to be one of our, like I said, it's going to be one of our parts that will be available on the workshop, sorry, on the website through the workshop. I don't know when it's going to be available, but it will be the first half of this year because it's going to align with the build that we've got in there to finish this build here and the PC18s that we've already sold 4 exhaust systems for. Next one on the ramp is a very popular build, the one with the fat front end, the 180 on the front and the 180 on the rear, and the twin exhaust systems under the seat. As we mentioned in the last video diary, it's got the push button switches up top, and it's got those switches working in unison with the unit garage gauge. That all works through the DevMoto loom, which we're just waiting to receive, and then that will be able to be finished and done and dusted. Now, one of the things that the customer does want changed is the chunky tyres. Now, this is a point that I just want to sort of elaborate on for a little bit. Lots of customers love the real chunky look. It's very, very popular on the R9Ts. It's also very, very popular in the custom scene at the moment. However, with the chunky tyres comes a little bit of, comes at detriment to the handling, effectively. There are very large tread blocks here. They don't work particularly well in the wet. They work fine in the dry, but what a few customers complain about is the fact that because you've got the large space in between the tread blocks, when you go from upright, little bit of lean angle to a more fast cornering lean angle, you don't have much space in between those tread blocks. So you end up getting what is effectively like you're riding a 50p. Below 30 miles an hour, that's when you feel basically the aggressiveness of the tread blocks. Above 30 now, you don't feel it. However, we do want to let you know that there are options available, and this customer has selected an option which is available. So here's an example of where you can still have, this is the Pirelli, the STR Scorpion, the new road version. This is an example of where you can have the aggressive, chunky look, but you still have decent road performance. So you've got a nice profiled tread block there for when you're at decent lean angle. The gap in between the tread blocks aren't as large, and it means that it gives you a lot more confidence when it's when it's wet. Not as much handling as you're going to get because there isn't a lot of cut tread on this to disperse the water, but you are going to get a little bit more confident in the wet, and there's going to be loads more confidence in the dry because there isn't the large step in between. Dunlop also do a tyre which is very similar to this, which is even more aggressively treaded with the gaps in between a lot smaller, and that is the Trail Max Mission. We're going to be getting some of those in soon and fitting those to a couple of the bikes. I'm very excited to get out on the road and give them a spin because the feedback from them has been very good. So putting that to one side, the airbox removal is done and dusted on this. We've got the Rapid Bike Evo to finish off, and then we are on the final stretch with this one. Very excited for this one. We're going to be doing a little bit more work on this video wise later on in the year. We're going to do sort of a little bit of a piece on it because we know how popular it is. But I believe that for this month's workshop walk around, that is it. We are all done and dusted. I'm excited to take you now into the Fab Shop and show you the little bits that we've got going on with the R18 and all of the Fab work. Welcome to the second half of the workshop diary, which is going to be in the Fab Shop. We have several R18s in here and they are all having Fab work done. You may think, what on earth are you going to be doing Fab work wise, Stu, on this beautiful PC18 that we built for BMW last year? And that is, the bike was made show ready not road ready. So we've got the side mount number plate, which we're going to develop on this bike, so it's ready for market, so you can fall in love with it and put it on your R18. The other standout parts are the exhaust system and the PC18 rear end bobber mudguard kit. That's something we're going to be putting together a little bit later on. I'll go into more detail on that. First of all, the exhaust system. We've managed to sell several of these exhaust systems already, which is ridiculous. It blows my mind that people want to buy them before they're even available. So we've got the exhaust system off of this, got that sent off to be jigged, and then we can have several of those ready to fulfill those orders, as well as on the shelf, so you can fit them to your routine at home. That very nicely moves me on to the bike next door to me. So this bike has come, brand new bike out of the box, and it's been delivered to us from a dealer. The dealer has asked us to replicate those standout parts from the PC18, the exhaust system and the rear end, onto this bike. However, I'm just going to give you a very brief overview of the other cool stuff that are going to be done. The front end is having a 5-inch Bates headlight. Now you might think, how on earth is that going to work with the LED system? And that is because we've hooked up with DevMoto in France again, and they've put together a plug and play loom for us to work with any H4 filament bulb, which enables us to fit that 5-inch Bates on the front. Very cool, and is going to give the bike a very heritage stance from the front end. Moving backwards, it's having a PC18 style riser, but it's not having the PC18 style flat bars. It's having more of a beach bobber layback tracker bar. Once again, going to keep the width of the bike, but get rid of all of this height. Another very cool feature. So the exhaust system, which I've already mentioned, that's going to be exactly the same as the PC18, and that will be fitted to this bike. However, the rear end. Now this is where things get a little bit trickier, and I want to go into a little bit more detail as to how I go about putting together the fabrication work and eventually the sheet metal, which will then be the kit for these R18s. So starting off with the difference between the two bikes. So first of all, the configuration of the wheels is different. We've got a 2118 on this bike versus the 1916 on our PC18. It's also got a wider rear tyre on our PC18. It's got a 200 rear section, where this has a 180. So the fabrication on the mudguard is going to be done on a smaller mudguard, but the mountings are going to be the same. The customer, or should I say the dealership, requested that some Harley-Davidson style brackets, or should I say fender supports, are going to be added to this. Once again, fitting the Bates style headlight at the front to make it look a little bit more heritage. So the fabrication work and the bones of it. So although the plate on the R18 and the seat unit is tucked in and snug, there's something that I want to do a little bit better, and that is something that we can put it together as a production piece for market. Now, underneath that really smart plate in that seat, there is actually some support brackets which are vital to supporting effectively the rider. I've managed to integrate it into a snug piece so you don't actually see it, but underneath that flat plate there are two thick pieces of metal. These are laser cut out with datum points that have been taken off of the center point of the frame. They are then mounted to the seat with some hidden bolts, coach bolts, which bolt in up underneath, as well as allowing some mounting points for the mudguard. It just keeps it as a slick kit and all one piece. Regards the plate itself, now that is ever so slightly harder to do, because obviously you've got quite a few, although it's a nice sweeping smooth frame, there are some welds and stuff which I want to tuck in and be able to make it so that it looks like it hugs the frame but also sits nice and flat and looks purposeful. Our company ethos is bespoke built, factory fitted. This is what we're aiming to do with this kit. It needs to look in harmony with the rest of the bike, as well as looking custom, because customers won't want to buy it if it doesn't look custom. So, going into a little bit more detail, I take the center point from the holes and their centers in reference to the frame. I then use CAD, but not the CAD that you'd think. It's cardboard aided design. So I take a picture on my telephone, which I then print off and scale up on the computer. I then trace that around with some tracing paper. I then transfer that onto some cardboard. That cardboard I then cut out. That gives me my basic like for like clearance as to how I want the cardboard to look. I can then see whether it hits the frame, how much clearance I've got, any points that I need to trim. I can then mark that up on the cardboard, trim that out, do another one, and then start again with what I call the final cardboard template, which I know that I'm happy with. At that point, I then scan that into a document, send that over to the computer, and then I can then start the well, I say wizardry, but I don't think I'm that good at it, but it could be better. But I start the wizardry on the CAD design to make sure we then have a program which we can send off to be laser cut. Once we've got a program that can be sent off and laser cut, along with the support bars underneath, it then becomes a complete kit. And it's something that we are happy that once powder coated can be a production part and then can be a kit which you at home can buy and easily fit to your R18. So that's a little bit of an insight as to how I go about doing it. It may be a little bit harder than what you thought, it may be a little bit easier, but it's plenty of time spent on the bike, it's plenty of time spent drawing, and it's also just as much time spent on the computer, really racking my brains to make sure I can make it look right. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to it, and if it's not right, it will be scrapped, thrown in the bin, and started again. So there are some elements of traditional sheet metal which I do have to do, and that is what is the very first one that I get back from the laser cutting. I just have to make some changes as to what it looks like in the real thing, then make some more changes on the computer and go from there. However, that's the bare bones of it. You've listened to me enough, so it's time for Roy to do a little bit more talking now.
Cool, so welcome to the PCC Metaverse, everything website related. It has been extremely busy on the website. The first couple of weeks of January have been some of our busiest weeks on the website since we started. So it's been a bit of a struggle to upload new products. That said, there are a small selection that we've managed to get up of R18 parts. Most of them now are luggage related. It's beginning of 2022. A lot of people are thinking about their plans for the summer. Hopefully things will be a little bit more open and we'll be able to do a bit more traveling this year. With that said, we've now got tank racks. We're going to put in some mudguard racks, fender racks on from the R18, and also a quick reminder that all of the R9T unit garage, especially stuff like the Carly panniers and stuff, are now ready to go. We've got hard luggage on the website as well. So now that we're making our plans for the sun coming out, it's a really, really good time to pop back on, find the luggage section of the website and just remind yourself what there is available. Additionally to that, I just wanted to add that the blog section exists on the website. We've recently been trying to ask as many people on things like the Facebook group what videos they would like us to do as tutorials and such. Frequently we get handlebars. Now handlebars are a really, really tricky tutorial for us to do. We will look at doing one at some point in the future, but in the meantime we've got an extremely detailed blog that shows how to fit handlebars, how to fit clip-ons, how to do the drilling, what all the torque settings are. There's a lot of stuff on there. So if you ever go onto the YouTube channel and can't find a tutorial you're after, please just do pop onto the blog section of the website as well, and you might find what you need there. Finally, we've got servicing items on there. Again, the sun's going to come out soon. We're going to be looking forward to enjoying our bikes. A lot of people like to do their servicing at home. We have spark plug or coil puller tools. We've got oil filter tools, and we will shortly be uploading a lot more service parts as well. So just pop onto there and have a quick look as well. PierCityCustom.com. Obviously get in touch with us on the socials and the YouTube comments, anything else basically where you can find us if there's any specific questions you've got. That's a wrap for this video diary. We're going to be jumping back into the workshop shortly to get these projects finished off and the next one's rolled on, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. People who are thinking about plans for 2022 to how they're going to strap the blah, 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 blah. There we go.
First workshop workaround. Oh, start again.